Hi guys, Connie Esparza here with Life Realty District. I'm here in the beautiful neighborhood of historic Paradise Palms, right off the golf course, and I wanted to show you this vacant lot that is just under 13,000 square feet. It sits here at the end of the CUL-DE-SAC, and it's a nice quiet neighborhood.
Back in the 80s and 90s, though, it was a different story. The owner and her son were convicted of over 100 crimes and were sentenced to 125 years in prison. The owner's name was Santi Kimes, and her son was Connie Esparza. Santi was once placed on the front of the New York Post and called the Dragon Lady. That was after she was convicted of owning slaves. One day in 1985, a Mexican slave had escaped from her house on Adhanom Way, bringing attention to the horrors that were taking place within the home. Santi had made it a habit of traveling to Mexico with her family and son's tutor, and then she would send the tutor out into the streets of Mexico to pick up young women that didn't speak English. She would lure them back to America with promises of a better life. The property is no longer here because Santi actually burned it down. The property was actually placed into a man's name who she picked up from a homeless shelter. She torched the property after putting an insurance policy on it. Right before that, she had it in another man's name, and she took out a home loan on the property, had the funds transferred to her, and then he was found dead. This was done because her millionaire husband had died of a brain aneurysm and she wasn't in his will. There are quite a bit of books written about her and her son Kenny, and movies made. I don't think anyone's ever died at the property though, so you might not have to worry about that. Because again, it is for sale. I'll end with a news clipping that Channel 3 did back in 2017. And again, this is Connie Esparza with Life Realty District. If you're thinking about buying or selling property or even land in the Las Vegas Valley, I'd love to help.
The con artist and murder team of Santi Kimes and her son Kenny. What a lot of people don't know is that part of their spree took place here in Las Vegas. The two became household names when they were indicted on charges of kidnapping and killing an elderly New York socialite, charges their lawyer denied.
This indictment is baseless. This indictment is based on no eyewitness evidence.
19 years earlier, Santi Kimes had been arrested in Las Vegas for both grand and petty larceny, even though she was married to a wealthy motel owner. In 1985, Santi and her husband, Kenneth Sr., were arrested for enslaving illegal immigrant maids. Kenneth got a fine and probation. Santi was sentenced to 5 years and served 3. Santi, Kenneth, and their son Kenny lived here at 2121 Geronimo Lane in Paradise Palms. Today, it's a vacant lot. That's because in 1998, they added arson to their list of crimes.
Clark County firefighters are putting their case together against the Kimes.
There was a separate fire on the first floor from the fire on the second floor, and there was no normal means for the fire to get from either floor.
But the more serious charges came that summer.
Now, she and her son are at the center of an investigation into the disappearance of a New York City millionaire, 82-year-old Irene Silverman, last seen July 5th. So far, the evidence is circumstantial, but the case is building against Kimes and her son Kenneth. The two were arrested after Silverman's disappearance on a different charge.
Without a body, without any forensic evidence, it's a case which will be dismissed by any jury that has the opportunity to evaluate what there is.
But mother and son were found guilty, and there was more. Back to the Las Vegas connection.
Another man connected to the Kimes, David Kasdan. His body found in a trash bin at the LA airport earlier this year. It's suspected he transferred ownership of this house over to the Kimes shortly before his death.
In a bizarre attempt to spare his mother the death penalty in the Kasdan case, Kenneth Jr. held a ballpoint pen to a TV reporter's throat for 4 hours before being taken down. Santi Kimes died in prison in 2014. Kenneth Sr. had passed away in 1994. Kenneth Jr. is now 41 and serving a life sentence without parole in a San Diego prison. The lot where their house was torched is still for sale.